There are many ways that the railroad industries of the early 1800s are similar to the business practices of the ascending industries that we now see today. There are many things that make them similar. There are some things that make them different, but I think in general the things that relate them are greater than the things that separate them. I'm going to talk about a few of these things. Obviously there are more aspects that would relate the two, but in this video I'm just going to talk about a few that I think are most important. A little bit about the railroad history. As our book states, the railroads came around and they changed the whole transportation system in America at the time. They took a trip that used to take 2 to 3 weeks and they made it a 2 to 3 day trip. They were now able to take several trips back and forth instead of using their resources once to get something to one place one time. Similarly, in today's industries, companies are constantly coming up with ideas that they are making the consumer more accessible, more easily relatable to the product that they are presenting. They are coming up with ways to talk to people immediately versus sending a telegraph. They're coming up with ways to interact back and forth in a way that is very similar to the practices of the early railroad industry. The railroad industry was able to not only cut down the time frame of products and services and even people being taken from one area to another, they were able to build the industries around the places where they were building these railroad stations. They were able to urbanize these counties, these small towns that used to not have much going on in them. Now, a lot of times they would bypass a good amount of the real small towns, but where there was a boom in the railroad industry, there was a boom in the economy of that town or city. Again, in the same way, when a large corporation or a large company moves to a small area, you're going to see a large increase in not only the business, you're going to see a large increase in the businesses that surround the industry that has come to that area. Another way that ascending industries and railroads are similar is with regards to American politics. Before the railroads came along, the Congress was the main source of picking and choosing the representatives for our country. When the railroads came along, we were able to get people to the place where they needed to be in order to be able to run and to be able to better represent us as a nation. Same thing with the ascending industries of today. We're able to pull from different areas and different industries and really get the best representative of not only our society but our young people who are just getting into politics, who are just getting into knowing whether they want to go Republican, Democratic, and really we're able to easily see each candidate and what they really stand for. The last way that I think that the railroad industry is very similar to our ascending industries of today is the pure power that each industry really presented in their time. In the early 1800s, the railroads really dominated everything. They dominated politics. They dominated urbanization. They dominated the corporate power. So the power that was seen to go along with railroads is very similar to the power that is seen in today's industries. If you look at an industry like cell phones. Cell phones have dominated our world, our way of living these days. They dominate our daily lives. They dominate how we communicate. They dominate everything. So we've taken a way of communication and we've made it into something that dominates and has extreme power over our lives, our businesses, and everything. I think that the railroad industry did the same thing back in the early 1800s. They took a transportation mode and they made it really dominate the life and the corporate structure of the time. The railroads were the first modern management structures that were brought around. Some of those management structures are still used in our industries today. So I think the two really go hand in hand. Again, there are some differences, but the overall similarities are much greater than the differences.